streaming from the YouTube channel No More News for a live stream tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on his channel. We'll be discussing some heavy-duty, hard-hitting truth about the state of our world and what we can do to begin to turn things around for the better. Love to have you guys join us. Hopefully you can make it. What you want to do is subscribe to his channel and hit the bell notification icon. That way you'll be alerted when we're about to go live. One thing you got to know about Adam, he really sticks his neck out there exposing the true axis of evil, the Rothschilds International Banking Cartel. He's even traveled to Israel to give you a first-hand look at what's really going on over there that mainstream media absolutely will not report on. Remember, that's 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I was struck by the fact that George H.W. Bush was the chief architect of a world that is being dissolved now. He is the chief architect of the revitalization of NATO, of the revitalization of the United Nations, of NAFTA, all of the key parts of the post-Cold War world that George H.W. Bush believed were necessary to keep the peace and make the world prosperous.
Well, many of the planes that we're seeing here in Abilene will actually turn whatever they're spraying on and off right before our eyes. I mean, you'll see a plane up there flying like normal, turn whatever they're spraying on and off right before our eyes. I mean, you'll see a plane up there flying like normal, and then all of a sudden it starts spraying. We've seen them fly off into the distance and then loop around and fly back again. These are not your typical planes with a preordained path destination from city to city. Someone needs to explain to me why do they stop traveling in one particular direction and then loop around and come back again. They perform this behavior so many times that we start seeing the tic-tac-toe grids in the sky. We're witnessing the giant X's.
As we consider what scientists want us to think are mere contrails, what they claim are harmless trails of condensed water from an aircraft or rocket at high altitudes, let's also take a look at and hover over today's grayed out Google search page, which reads National Day of Mourning for President George H.W. Bush. I want to give props to the YouTube channel A Call for an Uprising and to the Washington Times, not to be confused with the Washington Compost Pile, for revealing what we're going to take a look at in this quick video. And really, you guys need to share this with everybody you know, because the grave irony of all this reverence and honor people are given to an allegedly dead, but certainly extraordinarily notorious warmonger, is that while people mourn his supposed passing, H.W. himself has chosen in return to turn up his nose and give us all the middle finger in a very symbolic way. And if you just stop and think about it for a second, symbols are very important to these lifetime skull and bones, secret society, Freemasonic, United Nations loving globalist spooks who love to dangle this crap in our faces as they make us the brunt of their satanic little inside jokes in their quest for world dominance. The Washington Times reports George H.W. Bush was long famous for the astonishing variety of socks he wore, so much so that the city of Houston has asked residents to don special socks to honor him this week. The Republican Party also offered HW socks at its online store for years. Jim McGrath, who is the spokesman for both Barbara and George H.W. Bush, now reveals the design of the last pair of socks the late president will ever wear. But guys, before I show you the design pattern HW picked out, as he supposedly bids farewell to the earth he had a huge part in helping to destroy, I just want to take another look at these so-called harmless trails of condensed water vapor as they innocently hang in the air that we all have to breathe. And they hang there for hours and hours and hours. After which they're reported to make people sick, block the sun for days, and literally modify the weather. But if you think I'm just a conspiratorial anti-government kook, maybe you'll believe in the existence of chemtrails, or as former CIA Director and Council on Foreign Relations puppet John Brennan likes to call, stratospheric aerosol injection.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuel.
Other globalists like Al Gore like to denounce cloud seeding projects, brushing them off as nonsense. But one thing you gotta remember is these guys are all part of the same club, they're working together, and they know exactly what they're doing.
President of the United States, please welcome Vice President Al Gore. And what are you, well, first of all, let me ask you this question, because there's a rumor, I don't know if this is true or not, that some scientists are trying to figure out a way to block the sun to try to slow down global warming.
Yeah, it's a measure of the feeling of desperation that some of them feel.
Are they really thinking they could do that?
Well, some of them are seriously proposing, and I think it's completely nuts.
Yeah.
You put another kind of pollution, sulfur dioxide, up to orbit, cover the atmosphere. The sky won't be really blue in the way it is now anymore, but it would block out some of the sun's heat so that we wouldn't have to take the difficult steps to stop spewing all this global warming pollution into the atmosphere. And of course, there are a lot of problems with what they're proposing. It turns out plants need sunlight.
Yes.
It wouldn't stop the acidification of the oceans, and it really should be yet another wake-up call for...
So globalist John Brennan admits to chemtrails, but globalist Al Gore downplays them. As you and I can see with our own eyes, this isn't something they're thinking about doing. This is something they do every single day. And they've been doing it for years. They seed clouds with a concoction of chemicals like silver iodide, potassium iodide, and dry ice, which is solid carbon dioxide. They also use liquid propane and other chemicals in order to manipulate the weather. This isn't conspiracy theory, this is actual fact. It's classic geoengineering. And guys, this technology is not new. The footage you're looking at is from a 1923 newsreel where the Air Service is dropping a chemical curtain to obscure and protect approaching bombing planes. Supposedly, they use this kind of technology in Normandy to hide approaching boats. The point is, what your eyes are seeing here are not harmless water vapor contrails. A contrail quickly and easily dissipates. Chemtrails hang around for a long time. You're seeing chemtrails here being dumped into the atmosphere for a particular reason. And regardless of the reason, this is detrimental to your health. The only thing that should be going into your lungs is clean, fresh air. Consider this news report.
This next story is so unbelievable, we didn't think it could possibly be true. But after receiving thousands of records and declassified reports from the Army, it's confirmed that during the Cold War, the United States military conducted secret tests on unsuspecting people in the city of St. Louis. A local sociologist will make her findings public tomorrow, but she spoke first to the I-Team's Lisa Zigman.
Lisa Martino-Taylor's life work has been to uncover details of the Army's ultra-secret military experiments carried out in St. Louis and other cities during the 1950s and 60s.
This study was secretive for a reason. They didn't have volunteers stepping up and saying, yeah, I'll breathe zinc cadmium sulfide with radioactive particles.
These Army archive pictures show how the tests were done in Corpus Christi, Texas in the 1960s. In Texas, planes were used to drop the chemical, but in St. Louis, the Army placed chemical sprayers on buildings and station wagons. City officials were kept in the dark about the tests. The Cold War cover story was that the Army was testing smoke screens to protect cities from a Russian attack. The truth, according to Martino-Taylor, was much more sinister.
It's pretty shocking. The level of duplicity and secrecy, clearly they went to great lengths to deceive people.
By making hundreds of Freedom of Information Act requests, she uncovered once classified documents that confirmed the spraying of zinc cadmium sulfide. The greatest concentration of this compound was sprayed near the Pruitt-Igoe housing complex just south of downtown St. Louis. It was home to 10,000 low-income people, and an estimated 70% were under the age of 12. Martino-Taylor claims they all unknowingly inhaled this compound morning, noon, and night, so the government could measure its effects on their lungs.
So this is in violation of all medical ethics, all international codes, and the military's own policy at that time.
In 1994, then Congressman Richard Gephardt asked the Army to open its records and explain the St. Louis testing.
We want to make very sure that nothing went on that would harm anyone and that all the facts are out on the table.
Documents released in the 90s show the Army placed sprayers on this former Knights of Columbus building on Lindell and in Forest Park. The Army always insisted the chemical compound was safe. Martino Taylor believes documents prove otherwise.
There's a lot of evidence that indicates that people in St. Louis, in the city, particularly in minority communities, were subjected to military tests that was connected to a larger radiological weapons development and testing project.
For the first time, she links the St. Louis testing to a company called U.S. Radium, a company notorious for lawsuits involving radioactive contamination of its workers.
United States Radium had this reputation where they had been found legally liable decades prior for producing a radioactive powdered paint that killed many young women who painted fluorescent watch dials.
While the Army admits it added a fluorescent substance to the zinc-cadmium compound, details of whether it was radioactive remain secret. Documents uncovered to date indicate the Army never conducted follow-up studies to see whether the compound caused long-term health issues. In 1972, after years of crime, poverty, and decline, the government destroyed the Pruitt-Igoe housing complex.
So when you look up into the sky and see a trail left by a plane that keeps expanding and hanging in the air for hours, and they tell you, there's nothing to be concerned about, remember, the government was caught spraying its own people at least once. The CIA admits to spraying, and your eyes can see that they're spraying. Your eyes don't lie, and the skies don't lie. So, what special design did old Poppy global warmonger H.W. Bush decide to wear for the rest of time in his casket? Here's a Twitter post by former George H.W. Bush spokesman Jim McGrath. The 41st president will be carried to his final rest wearing socks that pay tribute to his lifetime of service, starting as an 18-year-old naval aviator in war. What a great legacy. End on a note of war. Remember, to these skull and bonesman Masonic puppets, symbolism means everything. The pattern on his socks is an in-your-face glorification of the military-industrial complex and the horrors of mass murder, which they call war, as warplanes fly over, leaving their deadly chemtrails hanging in the air of a world filled with the humans he lived his life trying to destroy in his quest for one world order dominance. And these people are proud to shove that symbolism right in your face. Leave your thoughts for the world and the Google Thought Police in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to Adam's No More News channel and hit the bell notification icon. I'll see you guys in Adam's live stream tomorrow.